Finding a Relational Home in Integrative Psychotherapy is a podcast created and hosted by the Institute for Relational-Integrative Psychotherapy, Serbia, a training institute dedicated to the development and dissemination of relationally-oriented, developmentally-based integrative psychotherapy. To learn more about the Institute, its programs, and upcoming events, you can visit our website. The link is available in the description of this podcast. The Institute is honored to welcome to this podcast episode a very special guest, Karen Cesarano. She's a clinical psychologist, certified international integrative psychotherapist, trainer and supervisor by IIPA, and provisional teaching and supervising transactional analyst with more than 30 years of clinical experience in working with clients. Karen, welcome to a space of dialogue, learning, and a search for a relational home. And now that I've said all those big words,
Yeah.
let's see what they actually mean. Welcome.
Thank you. I just love finding a home.
I hope you.
Yeah. When I hear that, it touches my heart.
It is. It's very beautiful. I agree. Now, Karen, you've worked in psychotherapy for over 30 years, as I've just now mentioned.
Yeah.
And you've trained in different modalities. What first drew you to a relational approach?
Well, working with different clients, some of which were quite disturbed. And really, I guess in TA terms, we could say didn't have a lot of adult available.
Right.
So they were people that had been extremely traumatized. And that trauma hadn't happened in adulthood, but it had happened during their development. And using the then TA that was different to what TA now has developed in terms of their relational, also TA approach. But then it was very classical. And I found that really I could not connect with my clients. My clients, I felt, and some told me, that how we were working together, it was more enhancing a different type of adaptation, but not actually getting to the core of the issues that these people were experiencing. And that partly led me to start and look for some further specialization.
Yeah.
And then it did so happen that I was called to translate for Richard.
Okay.
That is how I met Richard on a more, in a wider way, because I'd watched him, I'd heard him at conferences. But then I went to a workshop and I translated a 5-day workshop on body script for him. And that was in Italy. And the person that had invited me actually was Elena Guarrella. And at the end of the workshop, Elena asked me, said, Karen, it seems it's gone very well. Richard is very pleased. Will you please come back and translate again? To which I said, no. And she was very amazed. And she said, why? What's happened? I said, no, I don't want to translate. I want to do the training with Richard. And that's how my journey started in 1993.
Wow. Okay. That was a while back now.
A long way. Yeah.
When you mentioned that you worked with people who were in TA terms missing a lot of their adult self, I assume that you're referring to your work in a residential care in Italy. How would you say that shaped your view of connection, relationship, and human functioning?
Or a lot. And actually, in some ways, TA with people that were also extremely damaged, to some extent, having the idea of the ego states and being aware which was the ego state that was actually communicating with me was very helpful.
Mm.
What I realized, though, that even though it was helpful for me to understand where the person might be coming from, then I didn't find I had the tools to be able to relate and make a difference.
Mm.
Because it was not possible to work in TA terms to address what we would now say in IP, the developmental age of the person. There were not the tools at that time to be able to work in that way.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm now, so many things are now going through my head, but I wanted to ask you, you talk, actually, I want to disclose an important piece of information for what I'm going to ask you further. And that is that I am lucky enough to attend the training at our IP Institute here in Serbia, and you are my trainer. And I've listened to you talk a lot about IP, and you mention a lot the term contact in relationship. What does that mean to you, and why is it such a core idea to your work?
That's a big question.
Do we have an hour, right?
So from where I come from in terms of, yeah, the core philosophy, the core principle for me is that contact in relationship is core to the possibility to develop in a healthy way. What does that mean? That means that both I, as looking to connect with a person, as also the person looking to connect with me, I am open to be influenced, to be modeled, to be touched, to be shaped. And to the extent possible, I do not use any personal frame of reference in wanting to connect with the other, but Richard said something many years ago as I watched him work with a colleague in a workshop, and it stuck with me. He said to this person, while he was gently working with them and they were partially regressed, he said, "Teach me your language." And that for me means many things. Teach me your language, your frame of reference, the culture where you come from, your history, your dreams, your hopes, your vulnerabilities, but also the strategies that you have had to build in time to be able to cope and find a space, not necessarily to feel that you belong, but to at least find a space in the world where you feel that you can survive and hopefully instead live. So relationship, contact, yeah, it is the core of everything.
Yeah. From how you described it, it's like it's the essence of being alive.
For me, yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
For me, yes.
Yeah.
very much so. And in my work, that is what I hold as a central principle before anything, even before therapy itself.
Yeah.
It is being with the person in the space and being willing, as I said before, to be touched and changed by that person.
Yeah. Would you say that it is a necessity that contact in relationship needs to happen in order for therapy to happen?
For me, yes. For me, yes. Otherwise, very often, and this is what I think I used to do before I sort of got in touch and really embraced IP. I think in my work, I was doing to the client. Yeah. Or doing something in terms of teaching the client. So there was a conviction on my behalf that the frame of reference I had was the one that they needed to learn to be able to function and live well. Actually, who says?
Yeah.
Who says? There's so much that I've learned to appreciate in terms of clients, and appreciate that the client knows as well. And in order for the client, though, to feel safe to share some of what they know, and sometimes what they know but they don't know they know, there needs to be that relationship between us first. Otherwise, things just do not work, for me at least.
Yeah. Now, many people nowadays, it seems that, relational work, or the word relational that now sits in front of many psychotherapy modalities, is very it's a buzzword.
Yeah.
Maybe
It's a
in some
trend.
way. Yeah, it's a trend. Relational is very important, and a lot of therapists will describe that they do relational work. But you train in relationally focused, developmentally based integrative psychotherapy. And another big question: how would you explain that to someone who's unfamiliar with the term?
Well, one of the first things I'd say is developmentally based. And developmentally based for me means that a person, whatever age they may have according to their birth certificate, there can be times when that person goes to the background. And there's another experience that emerges that is much younger and that needs to be attended to according to the systems of communication of that age. The other thing is, it's true that a lot of people say, I work relationally. And for me, relationally, I'm going to repeat myself, but I think for me, this is really important. For me, relational means that I am willing to be changed with whom I am interacting with. Changed in terms of I am willing to keep my frame of reference, and at the same time, I'm willing to allow my frame of reference not to be the only guide in looking to relate to the other, but really to take on board and see if I can start and see the world and experience the world as my client is describing. So what is the difference between the way I feel that I work relationally now to before? I think basically, I don't think I carry the truth.
Mm. Yeah.
I don't have the golden rules.
Yeah. Mm.
But that also leaves me and can leave me in a place of vulnerability.
That was going through my mind the whole time. It's allowing yourself to be vulnerable in the therapy room. Yeah.
And it also asks me to be willing to walk beside my client in a space of unknown.
Mm.
Whereas before, somehow, whatever was told to me, I had a frame of reference, and it's like everything went into that and became a known.
Yeah, and it probably fit wonderfully into it.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's something again that now invites me as well to think of the difference between how I now pose my questions that are now, we in IP are called inquiries.
Mm.
Because before, my questions were really for me to understand, so I could put the information within my frame of reference and then guide my client where I thought they needed to go.
Mm. Mm.
Today, inquiry is about, I don't know where we're going, but I'm curious to know where together we might take this path, this journey, and what we will discover together.
Mm.
And so it's about working with the client so the client can become aware of things they don't know. And at the same time, I'm learning stuff that I definitely don't know.
Yeah. And when you describe it that way, I can see, I somehow see it and I go like, ooh, these are certain things that can actually feel very scary to a therapist, especially someone in training. What do you mean? I don't have the outline. What do you mean? I don't know where I'm supposed to be going. What do you mean? I don't know what my next question is going to be. And when I think of all that, what would you say when you are working with trainees in IP? What is the biggest challenge that they face here, and how do you support them in that? How do you support us when we have to go somewhere where we don't know we're going to go?
So I think one of the biggest challenges is embracing uncertainty,
Mm.
the not knowing ahead of
Mm.
time.
Mm.
At the same time, with experience, it's really learning to trust the process. And in that, though, trust the client.
Mm.
Have faith in the client. Believe that the client knows far more than what the client knows to know.
Yeah.
It has just been lost. It has been split off.
Mm.
It has been, in some ways, distorted,
Mm.
reorganized in order to survive, in order to cope. But within a contactful relationship, within the therapy setting and the therapeutic relationship, those unknowns can and will emerge.
Mm.
Slowly, gently, but they will.
Mm.
And I've used the word slowly. I think that's the other big challenge.
Oh, yes. I can vouch for that.
You know, what's my client getting? What am I doing here? You know, we haven't done anything today. I'm not doing anything. And I usually say, okay, let's put down the doing and let's see how much you have been and how much that being with your client was relevant for your client, given that their history inevitably will have been that a lot of the time they did not have the experience of someone being with them. And the being requires time. So we have to slow down the process, our process, and our telling ourselves that we're not doing a good job or we're not doing enough in our job. Do you find those challenges?
No, of course. It's all challenging. As I said, what do you mean? I don't know where I'm going and I have to go there slowly. Or I don't have to go anywhere, which is, another challenge. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's interesting what you've just said. I don't have to go anywhere. I was just thinking of a client I worked with yesterday. And she actually said towards the end of the session, before the session, I was thinking, what am I going to say to Karen? Everything's fine. I don't know. I'll just ask Karen to suggest something that we do. She had no idea what she wanted to talk about, what she needed, or she knew she wanted to come to the session. But apart from that, it was all, I don't know. And funnily enough, the session, nearly from the beginning, she started to say a few things about what had happened the day before. And then she moved her body in a certain way. And I said, what's just happened there? And that opened a whole therapy session.
Yeah.
She didn't know she was going to go there. I had no idea what that inquiry meant or where it could have taken us. And it was being with her in that moment and further down. Crying. This client cried a lot for many reasons. And I was there with her. And she said, I know you're here with me. And this means a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a wonderful example of how when we don't think we're doing anything, or even as a client, when we come to therapy, we also think we need to do something. We have to have something to talk about, and yet look at what comes out of this, even when we don't know. Absolutely. Karen, besides training young therapists, you also supervise therapists. What do you look for in therapists? What qualities signal relational maturity or awareness to you?
The level of self-supervision, so their level of awareness of the process that is happening between them and their client. The knowledge and ability to reflect on their countertransference. And that being aware if their response is a response that has to do with projective identification. So the client is projecting some element that they are not able to deal with, And the therapist is picking up on that and is experiencing that emotional or cognitive process, the ability to decide if and how to use that with the client. Their flexibility to be
When
able,
you say that.
yeah, so flexibility, so having the ability to take different concepts and integrate them and use them in a way that expands their knowledge, awareness, and ability to relate to the client. And that, of course, changes according to, the level of the supervisee. Of course, when a supervisee is at the beginning, I know there's far more also offering information to the supervisee and the possibility to exchange, to talk together about that information. What for me is always important, that there is that experience of relationship and connection.
Thank you for that introduction to my next question.
Right, okay.
How well attuned you are. One of my new experiences when I started my IP training was supervision, which was very different to supervisions that I've had, and I've had it in various different modalities. Supervisors that came from different modalities, right? And how does supervision itself become a relational experience? Because that's what was the upgrade in my IP supervision, beyond just knowledge transmission. So you, as a supervisor, you just don't sit there to say, okay, well, you need to do this, this, and this, and this, and add 2 grams of empathy and 3 grams of,
So again, my way of supervising, and this actually opens a wish of mine. I don't know if I'll ever get round to do it. And that is, I use the keyhole that we use and we refer to as our method with our clients. I use the same method with my supervisors. I look to attune to them. I look to understand if where they are coming from, their request is more something to do with some transferential issue that may have disturbed them, or if it's something to do with the counter-transference and something that they are struggling with, not knowing how to respond to the client. I am always involved, or hope to be always involved. I normalize, I validate, and I inquire. So it is about, tell me what's going on. Tell me what your idea is. Tell me how you feel. So it's a co-construction. We build together the supervision. We understand together what the supervision requires today. And that's why I don't have a standardized come with a piece of paper where tell me this, that, that, and that. It's like you come, you bring yourself, and with yourself, you'll bring your client. That's all I need. And then we'll look at the rest together.
And see where we'll go.
Yeah. And we will
from there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. I want to do a little switch into, we've looked at training, we've looked at supervision, and I would like to sort of get your, pick your brain on therapy in general. Do you think that therapy actually changes people, or does it just help them cope better?
Okay. So my response depends not only on my experience working with other people, but it also is based on my personal experience, who I am today.
Yeah.
I am not who I was. I have changed fundamentally.
Yeah.
And in that, what I'm saying is those needs to hold walls to protect myself, to avoid, basically, real, authentic contact in relationship, are no longer there. In general, sometimes they'll reappear.
Yeah.
Having said that, I really do believe that people can change fundamentally, structurally, that the reasons by which as adults we struggle and there are confusions, there are limitations, we are unhappy, depend on those strategies that we had to use a long time ago to manage, to understand a world that was complex then, and I think is far more complex now, with internet, with social media, which in many ways I find quite disturbing and dangerous. And I think those can be reviewed, revisited, and we can establish a different organization of ourselves and ourselves in relation to others. Yeah. So my answer is yes, we can.
Yes. Yeah. Great. Thank you. I feel better now that your answer is yes. I always thought that, the choice of our career as therapists has to sort of have that core belief that people can change. Otherwise, if you don't think that, like, why are we here? Yeah, absolutely. How human is a therapist allowed to be in a room, Karen?
Totally. Totally human. I think that again takes me back to that, what I was saying about allowing myself to be vulnerable, to be touched, to be shaped. I hope that both in my teaching, my training, as a supervisor, as a therapist, my hope is that all the people I touch, they experience me as being profoundly human. Because that for me, if I weren't profoundly human, that would be for me the failure of my work. And for me, the failure of really embracing IP. I think IP requires us to be human.
Yeah.
Profoundly human.
Absolutely.
And to feel safe in being human.
Yeah. Well, one of the uncomfortable things about being human is that we can make mistakes and we can get stuck or we can get bored. So do therapists ever get bored, stuck, and unsure with their clients? And what happens then?
All of those. All of those. Yeah. Bored, stuck. Yeah. Cross.
Wow.
I got cross. Sometimes also scared. I know in time and with experience, all these types of experiences have unsettled me less. And I've been able to use them more in a beneficial way, or for my personal supervision, or to use that in a way that is respectful and congruent to the process with the client in that moment. I've made mistakes. I've acknowledged those mistakes. I'm thinking of one client in particular. We hadn't been working long. And this wasn't many years ago, actually. And I said something that was absolutely, to me, of no offense, or there was nothing that I could have believed could have unsettled the client. And actually it was towards the end of our session. So towards the end of the session, I got it wrong.
Yeah.
And I was quite shocked. And I remember that it took a lot of energy within me to hold myself, to understand that whatever was going on wasn't necessarily towards me, but that what had happened had triggered something very important for my client. And so I addressed that emotional response of my client. I validated that. And I apologized for having said something that I yet didn't know well what it was, but I was willing to have them tell me, that had upset them so much. And to this day, I'm working now with this client many years on, well, about 3 years on, 4 years on. And every now and again in the therapy, they go back and they say, Karen, that was so healing for me. That was so important that you held your ground. You didn't crumble under my emotional response. And you recognized that that had been very disturbing and hurtful to me. So, yeah.
And thank you for saying that that was something that happened recently. It's always comforting to know that even therapists with years and years of experience still do make mistakes. And it's very much what we do with those mistakes that that makes the difference to the client, because they've probably never had the experience of someone owning their mistake or apologizing for it. Yeah, absolutely. When we think of our clients, is it okay to feel attached to your therapist or even angry with them? Is it okay for them to have those emotions back?
Yeah. That they feel, so that the client feels angry with us, or that we feel angry with them?
That the client feels angry with us.
Oh, yes. I think that is part of the integration of the process. Again, this week, there was, I'm thinking of a client, and it was about them managing and how they are starting to understand and experience that they can still love someone and be angry with them at the same time. And in particular, a client with me, they do say that they love me, but not in a sexualized way. So that tells us something very much about the developmental age. They are very attached, and they are starting to allow themselves, and they check with me, but they are starting to allow themselves to tell me that, you know, I really got angry with you, Karen, that time.
Mm.
And then they'll sort of check, do you still love me?
Yeah.
And it is this process, them trying to understand that, yeah, you can be angry and I won't push you away. And I do have affection. I do care about you. And I don't doubt that you love me, even if you are angry with me.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, I think, for me personally, one of the, I don't know, biggest gifts that I think the therapeutic process gives to someone is actually the ability to accept that ambivalence. Um, Again, for many people, not something that they could experience anywhere else in their lives. So it's, I think, one of the best things you can get out of therapy
And that
as a
brings me
client.
to an event.
Mm,
And I'm
mm,
thinking of the relational needs
mm,
and the relational needs to express our love or affection,
mm,
which was so liberating for me to realize that that was an okay experience that could happen within the therapeutic
mm,
setting, and that the client could
mm,
have that attachment experience towards us, and that I didn't need or have to push it away, thinking that otherwise I wasn't ethical.
mm.
And I'm going to share a personal experience many years ago. My trainer and supervisor within the TA framework, I was ending my training, I'd finished, and I went to say goodbye. And I had really thought about giving a little gift to say a thank you.
Mm.
And at the time, I didn't have much money, so it had to be something anyway that was quite limited.
Yeah.
But I had spent a lot of time trying to find something that would be in fitting with
Yeah.
this person. I went, I said goodbye, I said how I appreciate it, and I offered the gift, to which they refused.
Oh,
And however much I said, but this is just a little thought,
yeah.
nothing much, really to say how I appreciate. And this person started to elaborate a reflection on transference and what have you and what not.
Yeah. Yeah.
And in the end, I walked away with the present.
Oh, Karen, I'm sorry. It just,
It was so hurtful. And I'm saying that because, yeah, it's like, I never, ever want any of my clients or a supervisor, anybody, to feel that their expression of love and affection is not, for me, it wasn't good enough.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh,
Or
absolutely.
there was something that wasn't okay.
Yeah.
So that was a gift that IP gave me. The relational
Mm.
need to express love,
Express.
affection was just so heartwarming for me.
Mm. Mm. Yeah.
Yeah.
It is. I agree with you. It's so wonderful to know, like, I can imagine moments where, as you know, a trainee therapist, I would sit and I would feel a lot of love for the client sitting across from me. And, you know, my modality would say, you know, this is not something that needs to be expressed, you know. This is, you can feel it.
Can't express it. I
Yeah.
mean, it's always within the remit of is this useful? When is it useful?
Yeah.
Is this beneficial to the client?
Yeah.
There's always
Yeah.
that underlying do not do harm.
Yeah.
But within that, then, yeah. And that is, I think, the responsibility of as a therapist, and that's why we need to do in-depth therapy. That's why we need to continue our supervision, because we are human.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we
And
can
thank you for bringing that in the sense of sometimes when I do talk about IP to other people, like we might seem a little bit, too soft or too hippie or something along the lines, but it's also very important to know that we do work within a very ethical framework, and these things that are expressed are really thought through. And they don't just come out with like, out of nothing. Absolutely. Karen, you've mentioned this developmentally based moment a few times, and you said that that's the part that's also very important for you when you look at IP and the way it's specific. And that I would actually, in that sense, ask a question of, do you think that we can actually do meaningful therapy, relational work without revisiting the past and that developmental age when something painful might have happened? Or to say it in the words of some clients, do I always have to talk about my childhood?
When a client asks me that, I say no.
Mm.
You don't have to. There might be a time that it can be useful. Useful, important, we will see as we work together. I think there's something about I'm thinking here, because on one hand, it's like according to what the issue is, not necessarily, and what the client wishes to address, not necessarily, I have to go and work in the past. But of course, in that way, we are talking about more short-term work. It could be something that doesn't necessarily link to the past. Even though I think that in general, our past is always influencing our present. But then again, it's always the client to determine how far they want to go. And when it is time for them, they decided it's time for them to stop. I've had clients that I've thought, yeah, you want to bring to an end this process. I have shared my thoughts about that. Some have rethought and reviewed. Others have said outrightly, yeah, I hear you, I know. And that's enough for now. And I have respected that. And we have rounded up all the positives that they have gained from the work together. And we've rounded up the things that could be and remain not addressed. And if and when, with me or with somebody else, they know that they can always restart their journey. Have I answered your question?
Yeah, I think you've also again led me into my next one very easily and simply. And that is, how do you know that it's time to end therapy?
I don't.
Okay. Okay.
I don't. Actually, sometimes, or I don't in as much. It is something that I ask myself during time. I will at some point check and ask the client, where are we? What is it? This is what we've been doing, what we've achieved together. Where are you now? And, what is it that continues to bring you here?
Yeah.
But I'm not one to say, you've been with me X years, and so we have to end.
Yeah.
I think some people, in some ways, for the type of traumas, injuries in very early childhood, I think some clients, even if it's maintaining a connection that is like once a month, they need that for a long time.
Yeah.
And I always suggest that before we come to an actual end, that we start to reduce the frequency of our sessions and we review how things work.
Yeah.
And then look at what is needed. That I've never said to somebody, we have to stop our therapy together. That's a lie. When I moved from Italy to England,
you had to stop.
a few clients, I was already seeing people online. But there were 2 clients in particular. And at that time, I wasn't so into online that I really felt ethically I would be taking their money, but it would not be effective for them, actually counterproductive. And even though they, for quite a while, insisted that they wanted to continue, I referred them on because I really believe that I would not be doing them a good service. And they did actually.
Working with them online.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I have, in that instance I have, but otherwise.
And just for argument's sake, because I know that some therapists might actually ask this question, do you think that, because your answer is very similar to the one Richard gave in terms of where he actually said that he's never entered therapy with any of his clients, except when he closed down his practice for retirement, right? And would you think that by doing that and being like that and not suggesting it's time to end or we've reached certain goals and so on, we make our clients dependent on us?
My response is, for the relational connection that we have and for the ethical stance that is required of us, no. If ever I thought that a client was becoming dependent on me and not capable to deal with their everyday life to an extent that they needed to, then I would question myself. I'd look at that first on a supervision level, and then I would consider also personal therapy. But no, I don't think, for the way we work, we do not invite dependence.
And the years that someone spends in therapy, you would not consider that to be a measure of dependence, right? The fact that someone's going to therapy for 20 years doesn't mean that they're dependent on you.
It depends. So it depends. So I have a client that I have been seeing for many years, and this client was referred to me by a colleague psychiatrist who said, this person, if he starts to be part of the system, he will become a professional patient in and out of the hospitals. Karen, are you willing to take him on? He has never had any further recoveries in hospital, never been there. He is autonomous. And I know that for his situation, his reality, I know that I am the only person in his world ongoing with whom he can be himself. And he manages in the world. He's done many things. He's held down jobs. He's gone traveling. He has sections of his life that he functions very well. And there's another part, we would say developmentally, there is a part that is pre-verbal, that is still developing the skills and the abilities to be able to relate in a way that they can hold their own ground and they feel that they are worth something. So for me, my ethical stance there is, this person probably, if he hadn't engaged in this work with me, he would have ended up in a psychiatric hospital.
And probably wouldn't be as functional in the areas of his life that he is functional in now.
He wouldn't. No. Absolutely not.
So
we could question, is that therapy?
I leave that open. But do we want to go there?
Is that therapy? We'll leave that for another time.
Yeah. It's a question that I ask myself way too much in the sense of what is and what isn't. But why do you say that there are people who do find therapy very transformative, whatever it is, while others are actually very disappointed? You know, they get into therapy and they don't get much out of it. What happens there?
My first response, I'd have to ask the person. Ask them how come there was so
what happened there?
Why are they so disappointed? And disappointment takes me immediately to think of, I wonder how much disappointment was part of their experience. And how much it was really very difficult to connect with that part, I would imagine, that was hoping to find the possibility to connect, because otherwise probably they wouldn't have come to therapy ever. Sad, and sometimes things don't click. I would say to people that have been disappointed with their therapy work, don't give up. We we are human, and sometimes that therapist is not the type of therapist that works for you.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that you cannot find. It means that that therapist doesn't work for you, but not that you can't.
Yeah.
Carry on having that hope and look
Mm.
to find a better outcome for yourself.
Mm.
That's on the therapist.
Mm. Yeah. Mm. Yeah. Before we move on to a few of the questions which I've asked Richard in our first episode, and in hopes of just showing how different IP therapists answer to the same question. As I sit and I look at you here, I know that I can't move on without asking you the question, which I think is very important in the IP therapy that you do, and that is the role of the body that it plays in therapy, especially when words feel insufficient. How important is the body?
For me, the body is important as contact in relationship.
Mm.
Because the first connection as human beings that we have with other human beings is through the body.
Mm.
And I'm talking both postnatal, but also prenatal.
Yeah. Mm.
The body is our first element of communication.
Mm. Mm.
And yeah, everything starts from there.
Yeah.
I'm a firm believer, even in the moment of conception, according to how the two people are, I think that does affect.
Mm.
We know so little still of how much the body element influences and creates the actual baseline on which everything else of us is built.
Mm. Mm.
So for me, the body, understanding the body, that's a big word. There are two levels for me of understanding the body. One is through the actual physiological, neurological functioning of the body, which I think is paramount, that we as IP therapists have some knowledge.
Mm.
And then there is knowing of the body and how the body communicates through the meanings that the person has given to the body communication. Both are fundamental. And as I said with that client yesterday, it was through something that this person did with their body.
Mm. Yeah. That opened up the whole session. Mm. Mm.
The body, I am very attentive and also very respectful. And I'm a firm believer that the body holds a lot of information. We just need to know how to speak to the body. Yeah.
It opens, I'm sure it can open up another hour of talking, but I had to mention the body in speaking to you because I know how much of a connection you actually make through your presence in your body. So yeah, very important. I know it's important to you. Yeah.
Yeah, fundamental.
I will now go to these questions that I plan to ask each one of our guests and see how differently or similarly you answer to them.
Okay.
Okay. Were there any moments in therapy when you did not know what to say, and how did you handle that?
There've been many moments where I've not known what to say. And one of the first things when I don't know what to say, I ask myself, are words now important? Is it, I don't know what to say because I'm missing a level of communication?
Mm.
And so I do check the body response in me, and I look at the body of my client. And I think of what in the last probably minute has happened.
Yeah.
To sort of, so I've got a lot going on in my head in the moment. I don't know what to say. So that's one of the questions. Another one, and I think this depends very much on the client. I might ask myself different questions.
Yeah.
The one is, how important for this client are words? And then I might then ask, according to if I want to address more, explore more the emotional body route or the cognitive, I might ask, what are you thinking? Are you thinking something right now? Where did you go somewhere? Where was that? Or I might just say, I want you to know that I'm here. And see what the response is. If I get a body response or if somebody, the person responds with words.
Yeah.
Because according to that, it then gives me a guideline of where I might be going and who I might be attending to.
Yeah. Yeah.
In terms of age. Yeah.
Thank you for that. I'm actually going to really remember that when not knowing what to say, that one of the questions should be, are words now important? Are they needed in this situation? Yeah, wonderful. Were there times when you felt that a client moved you deeply, maybe even changed you?
Many times.
What
and I
comes to
think
mind?
some of those times were through my errors.
Yeah.
Other times it is witnessing the human vulnerability of the person, their struggles, and their resilience that really, brings tears to my eyes. After all this and everything that's happened, you are still here.
Yeah.
And you still have faith in humankind to some extent, in yourself, and if not, in me. And that I'm really honored and humbled by that. That touches me deeply.
No, absolutely. Yeah. How do you then recognize the moment when you are in true contact and not just in the role of a therapist? What tells you that you're in true contact?
It's about learning, having contact with me and contact with the other. So me feeling that I am open, I am being touched emotionally, my body, I am there. At the same time, also for how I observe the body of the other, for what is happening between us, whether it be a silence, whether it be a giggle, a smile, or something really profound, deep, an insight, whatever, yeah. There is an undescribable flow.
Yeah. Yeah, it's difficult. It's an unfair question. It's difficult to answer to it in words. Yeah.
And in
During
this
your
moment, I'm
year,
thinking,
yeah,
am I in contact with you?
I think you are. I'm sitting here kind of I feel a lot of that undescribable flowiness going on. Um, are there throughout your work, throughout the years of your work, like with experience, are there any boundaries that have in time become softer, or or more strict, or that you were kind of more strict with a certain boundary?
When you say boundaries, can you be more specific? Are you thinking within working with a
Therapeutic
client or
boundaries, yeah, working with a client. One of the things that we've talked about is this sort of expressing love, let's say. So that could have something that might have become softer. You would accept a gift.
So there's something about allowing some flexibility to the boundaries, because I think in that there is something that can be learned. However, I know that there are certain clients that they really need the structure and the timing to feel safe.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's where I would tend to pay more attention.
Yeah.
So the time boundary, something about I like to give in advance, for instance, my working weeks and supervision weeks. So my schedule is I see clients 3, if we take the sort of perfect month, 4 weeks in a month, I see clients 3 weeks, and then I have a whole week for supervision as a supervisor. And I, every July, create my schedule for when I go back to work in September. And I give my clients the schedule of the weeks that we will not be seeing each other.
Yeah.
So they know. And then boundaries around when I'm on vacation. In some instances, also having a colleague be available if the client may need contact and connection while I'm on vacation. So those are like boundaries I keep for myself, but also within a safety net for the client, for instance.
Yeah. Yeah. And thank you for that, because I think it wonderfully illustrates not just this question, but some of the ones that I previously asked, how your answers really depended on what your clients actually needed. So your boundaries would go softer or more strict depending on the client that you're working with. There's that flexibility there. Have you
with
ever
the unknown?
Sorry, but
Links up in some ways with the unknown and the uncertainty.
yes, absolutely. There's no right question answer to a question. You're ruining my whole concept here. Have you ever doubted your therapeutic modality or even therapy itself?
Therapy itself, no.
Okay.
Therapeutic modality, well, in some ways I did with TA because I looked further.
Yeah.
But I didn't doubt the effectiveness, there was something that I felt was missing for me, and I wanted to integrate that.
Okay.
What I do believe is that as therapists, I believe that we choose the modality that better fits our personality structure. And that, I think, is absolutely okay.
Yeah.
And I also think that that model, once we feel at home,
Yeah.
found our home in the model,
yeah.
I think it is the model that will make us the best therapists possible, because it will highlight all our potential,
Yeah.
and it will give us the possibility to be the most effective possible.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's not just that the client and the therapist need to click, the therapist needs to click with with their modality.
Yes.
Yeah, I get it. Absolutely. When you were a young therapist, what did you want someone to teach you the most, but you did not have anyone to ask?
How do you do it? How do you do it? And the answers were always, you will learn.
Yeah.
How do you do it? It's like, you will learn. You need to study, you need to have experience, you need to do your therapy. And I remember it was like, oh, but that's so far away, that's so long. I want to do it now. How can I be sure that I will be able to do this? And it's like,
Yeah.
I'll get there. I'll get there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
How do you become
a
a
great,
therapist?
that's a wonderfully honest answer. Thank you. That's all we want to know is how do you do it? So in that sense, how did you learn to trust the process and yourself?
Through personal therapy,
Yeah.
through studying a lot, taking very seriously my learning, both from books, but also from watching my trainers. And however many times they did something, or however many times they taught something, always going with humbleness and never coming away saying, I haven't learned anything. Because if I did do that, for me, it was like, so you have missed something. If you haven't learned anything, you've missed. Because it's not possible, however many times you read a book, however many times you see an expert work, there'll always be something that you can learn from them.
Yeah.
So many years of studying and always being very curious and passionate.
And on that note, is there a question about therapy that you have posed to yourself the most throughout the years and still seems open for you? If we look at all the learning throughout the years.
I think it goes back to what I said before. We know very little still about the body.
Okay.
There's something about, I wish I had far more knowledge, medical knowledge of how neurologically things work, how our metabolism works. And I know that I will not be able to achieve that goal.
Yeah.
But there is just so much we do not know yet. I wish I could come back in about 1,000 years
And see where therapy is then.
See where therapy is and what people then know
What do
about
we know?
this. Oh, we are just such a marvelous, we're more than a machine, a marvelous living being.
Yeah. My next question is, can a therapist truly help another if they themselves aren't complete or completely healed?
Yeah, I don't believe in complete healing.
Okay.
I think we all, however much therapy we do, however much awareness we have, those default systems are embedded, ingrained, and we go back to the body. The difference is that they are activated much less compared to before.
Yeah.
And when they are activated, we know how to deactivate and recuperate much quicker than we did before. And I believe that, yes, we can help, even if we do have our issues. Of course, it depends on the level of the issues. And that's, we go back to, that's why it's so important of in-depth therapy, and it's important
supervision.
to supervision. Because we do have our blind spots. We will have them. But the other, because they're not me, they hopefully will see the blind spot I don't. So you can. And I think that gives also the client, that reminds me of a client I had many years ago. And in one session she said, oh, well, Karen, you know, I see you and you know, you don't have any problems anymore. You solved your problems. Your life is perfect. You're this, you're that, the other.
Yeah.
You know? And I want to become like you, that you're not bothered by anything anymore and you're not this. And I said, really? I said, we need to spend time.
Who is this Karen you're talking about?
Yeah. It's like therapy. Therapy is not this. I am human. I have my moments. Therapy is about being aware of that, knowing how to deal with that differently. But I will be destabilized. I will be shocked. I will have my moments.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When we speak about healing through relationship, is the therapist healed through that relationship as well?
I think yes. There have been moments, and this is a delicate issue. Again, it requires awareness.
Yeah.
I have heard, witnessed, accompanied some of my clients in spaces where, as they have been processing their personal stuff, it has highlighted or put light on something of mine. And I have taken on board also what the client has discovered for themselves, for me too.
Mm.
And
Absolutely.
very much in group therapy. The piggybacking and the healing that has happened for me in watching other people process their personal stuff has been enormous. So yeah.
Yeah. Mm. I've also found that extremely enriching if I'm working with clients who, and I've had that experience very little though, but who are much older than me.
Mm-hmm.
For me, that's been like, it was like, to me, it was like, wow. Absolutely.
Wisdom. Their wisdom.
Yes. Yes. Exactly.
Very much so.
Exactly.
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah. And for the final one, and probably my favorite, if you could go back to your younger self at the beginning of your career, you're about to enter your first ever therapy session as a therapist. What would you whisper in the ear of that young Karen?
I've got to find the words for that young Karen.
Mm.
Because what I'd say today, I don't think that young Karen would actually understand the full meaning.
Mm. Oh, okay. Right. Paint us a picture. What is your first session? Do you remember it? How old were you?
I was quite young.
Mm.
Because in Italy, your training is much longer. So I've always
Mm.
been from when high
Mm.
school, I decided I wanted to do psychology.
Yeah.
So I've done this all my life. I haven't had any other type of work.
Yeah.
But what I'd say to myself, I can see myself, I must have been about
Mm.
25, 26.
Mm. Yeah.
And I'd say, take your time.
Mm.
Don't try to be perfect.
Mm.
Trust your client.
Mm. Mm.
Yeah. If I'd have said to myself, be with your client,
Yeah.
now I know what that means, but I wouldn't have understood it then.
No, not then. Mm.
Or
Mm.
trust the process, far too
Mm.
advanced.
Mm. Karen, thank you so much. One of the biggest impressions I have from your answer to this question is that you have showed your younger self the respect, the attunement, the careful choice of words that you would do to your clients as well. You approached this young Karen um, at her developmental level and chose the words for that. So it's such a wonderful illustration, not of how that's done with clients, but also a reminder of taking ourself in the same regard. Mm.
Yeah. Yeah.
So thank you so much for that. And thank you for your time today and
Oh,
this wonderful conversation.
thank you, Maria. I've enjoyed every minute of it. And as I said, I've really enjoyed your questions.
Mm. Thank
Mm.
you.
Thank you. Okay. Bye for now.
Okay,
Okay.
thanks.
Bye.
Bye.